In the social side, Rwanda has a very low crime rate. Very low crime rate, relatively low. And that's excellent. The political side, yes, many may criticize that, oh, he's a dictator, but a dictatorship or an authoritarian rule comes about political stability. And with political stability comes about peace. Hence, in Rwanda, very peaceful. Hence, you can understand why Rwandan people really love this man. South Africa has had a weird relationship with Rwanda for quite some time. This started way back in 2013 when a man called Patrick Karegeya was assassinated. Who was Patrick Karegeya? Patrick Karegeya was a Rwandan former head of external intelligence, right? External intelligence meant that he was in charge of making sure that, other foreign countries are not coming to infiltrate, making sure that there's no threats from other foreign countries. So Patrick Karegeya served under Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, from 1994 to 2004. And during his term as, head of external intelligence, he saw some things he didn't like about the way Kagame was doing his things. And he wanted
to supply arms to Rwanda was influenced by humanitarian considerations that people who are unarmed are going to be victims of that army which is outside the borders, which is being trained and prepared to go back and commit those massacres. It is in that light that we took this decision to arm Rwanda in
Much politically incorrect. So the issues plaguing the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's the bigger of the two Congos. That whole region, the Great Lakes region, Rwanda, Uganda up there, Burundi, of course Kenya, and not much Kenya, of course, and then Tanzania is. We've got lots of stories to tell you, and they could paint either side bad or good. And I've already declared to you that I regard Rwanda's president as a hero. And maybe because you have not heard of the good things that comes from him, that's why you find it very strange that I regard him as a hero. I have told you many times that I don't actually believe in democracy. But I participate in democracy because, capitalism wins all the time. And capitalism and democracy are same thing. So, Rwanda is a country. I think what you heard before this video will just tell you how great Rwanda is. So almost Rwanda is almost an example of the resilience of Africa. You take countries like Japan, they were almost broken, and those people built themselves up. Like Kenya and Rwanda, almost a similar story. A story of people using tech, using innovative things to build themselves up. And someone would say because maybe Rwanda are almost like three tribes, it's not that difficult to build the socio-economic, but the genocide that happened is very difficult. And socially, you would hear documentaries that these people are still, I think the battle is in Congo, but of course I'm speaking from a distance. But here's the thing. So at the end of this, I'm going to show you what people say of Rwanda's president, Paul Kagame. Paul Kagame's 99% win of elections. And Paul Kagame has been a leader for a long time. So those are people that worries them. Because I'm not a Democrat. Those things don't actually worry me. Is he good for the country? Yes, I think Paul Kagame is good for the country. And one of the most difficult things is if a leader is that good, it's very difficult to spin it off. Now, let's talk about who is innocent. No one is innocent, including Paul Kagame. So, all these countries, DRC included, all these countries are fighting for those scrambles. Is it scrambles? Yeah, I think it's scrambles. No, scrambled egg. Crumbles, yeah, bread crumbles. Bread crumbles from what the multinational corporations are doing, siphoning resources out of Congo. So what happens is, in South Africa, I saw there's a contingent of people who are blaming Cyril Ramaphosa, saying it's because of him that African mines are, that thing has been happening even before. I said in many podcasts that South African politicians have been involved in mining operatives for a long time in Africa, whether Central African Republic. People were saying exclude Zuma out of these things. Well, Zuma, it was Zuma who said he applauds the comrades who fought, the soldiers who fought. I think we lost 13 in Central African Republic at the time. And we lost 13 when Zuma was president, and his speech was, I applaud for putting in a good fight. So there's no one who's innocent of this, and I did not even make an attempt, and that's why I want to show you both sides. I mean, the Jeff Radebes, let me just find, but the articles you show them here, let me see what is that I can find from all of these things, just to quote. So this one comes from NUMSA. So for those who don't know who NUMSA is, so NUMSA is one of those originally ANC aligned unions, COSATU aligned unions. So they stayed with loans, donor money. They're talking about over the next decade, Tokyo Sehwale, via the Mvelapanda Holdings, was to invest 60 billion in DRC. This was January 2024, during the peak of Thabo Mbeki. You see, so Thabo Mbeki is when he was doing those negotiations that people see him as a hero, talking about the issues in Rwanda. He was already using, not him of course, the ANC and the South African oligarchs, those made billionaires. There were billionaires who were made in South Africa using their struggle credentials. Cyril Ramaphosa, Tokyo Sehwale, Sakima Xhozoma, we know them. I know comrades are even harsh, they call them baby Stellenbosch, because they were made by this transition into power. We don't know of any businesses that they started from the ground. If it's there, I'm saying we do not know. But those people turned out to be billionaires, and they become filthy rich. If you ask me, where did Mvelapanda get this 60 billion that they were, is it 60? Yeah, 60 billion. So the article is there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you all these articles. You could go them. To such an article is easy. Just take these words and Google them. You'll find all of these articles. So this is coming from NUMSA. And there are many that show you Khulubuse Zuma. Khulubuse Zuma's Jacob Zuma's nephew. He's involved in minings. At some point, they wanted to buy a mine in DRC by the lake, and they do something. And there was a point where they lost 50 million because they bought fake gold. So their stories are there on the web. So this narrative that says Cyril Ramaphosa, no, these articles are there. The articles that I'm showing you here are there. You will see them where they're speaking about the links of Patrice Motsepe, the links of everyone. People are talking, and when people are talking, I said there are no innocent people. What we shouldn't do is to encourage South Africa to fight. And why would South Africa want to fight those guys? It will be pretty silly for me. But the root cause is they are fighting for those minerals. I wouldn't want to be the one who's telling you, but all these families are involved. All these people with big minds. And some of these companies, some they use dodgy names. by the way, like Kulubuse Zuma has been in the Panama records, you know. So there are no innocent souls here. The reason I'm saying there are no innocent souls is because we see you in the comments. You tell us you want to subject this story as if it's a Ramaphosa only story. It did not happen even before. It happened before. And these big political names, the Sisulus are involved. These big South African families, they are eating there. That's why I was saying the other day that Rwanda, of course, is benefiting from East Congo minerals. Just about everything is sent to Rwanda to take out. And I said, of course, maybe it could be the proximity between Saki and in North Kivu, Saki and Goma, because they're just on the way to Rwanda. But anyway, all I wanted to say is there's no one who's innocent. And in balancing the two stories, Zuma is not innocent because they've got links. The Sisulus, Jeff Radebe, the Ramaphosas, the Tokyo Sohwales, everyone has been eating. If you ask me why are these people in Congo, it's because they are eating. And this is why they're fighting. So what we're saying is, imagine we have a war amongst us as Africans because people want to eat. And they do not fight people outside Africa who are coming to eat. They fight among themselves. That will be wrong, and this is what I'm cautioning. We shouldn't even do it. And I'm happy we are not in a war as we speak. It will be one of the most stupidest wars. The eating, because we can't stop capitalists from eating. They will eat. It's the nature of capitalism. We accepted, we were defeated. Let me state it this way. We were defeated by capitalists using democracy, and now that's why we are in a democracy. And we just have to accept it. And so if we have a democracy to fight, this is the way. But of course, I mean, you've got M23 who have been failed by democracy, and they're saying they do not want to take over their country via democracy. Those people are heroes, and I always caution they mustn't be thought of as anything else but heroes for their people. We can call them whoever we want because they're disturbing someone's bread. Anyway, Mashiane politically incorrect. I don't know where you're going to base this on, but that's it. Thank you.
I want to tell you, I'm not impressed until these people tell the nation something else. That we are going to go follow those who killed our comrades and make sure that they pay the price.
Do you believe President Ramaphosa is capable of using force to say, I'm going to extract my people, those who are alive and those who have sadly departed, and if it means I'm going to have to send fighter jets into that particular region, so be it. But this is the time. Is he capable of that?
If the President of the Republic, under these circumstances, cannot do what you are saying, what does he want the nation to think about him? He still believes that this nation must think he is a powerful president of the Republic of South Africa. Does he want to believe that SADC will continue to have confidence in the leadership of South Africa? Does he still want to believe that the world will take South Africa seriously? Does he want to believe that? If he can't read the Riot Act for those who killed our children, for those who killed our brothers, and he take it as one of those things, does he want to believe us, to believe that we should take him seriously? I don't think so. I don't think he believes so. Whether he will do what I think he should do is another thing. But whether he believes that we will take him seriously if he doesn't do what I'm saying, I don't think he believes himself. Don't think he believes. He looks like a man who is in a fix. What fixes him? What fixes him?
General Maumela Moretti, thank you very much for your...
There's no Western leader that has been in office as long as you have.
Do I care about that?
Because
The Western leader is a Western leader.
Because electorates normally
not-
normally throw people out. The nature of electorates and democracies is that people get tired of it and they move to another person.
That is if you are telling me, you know, that everyone has to conform to what the West tells us to do. I'm not one of those people. The Western world is a world on its own. It has many good things that they do. It has many bad things they do.
There's no democratically elected leader in a generally accepted democracy that has been in office as long as you.
Democracy is not defined by the West. No. If it does, then what happens of the contradictions that happen in the West?
South Africa has had a weird relationship with Rwanda for quite some time. This started way back in 2013 when a man called Patrick Karegeya was assassinated. Who was Patrick Karegeya? Patrick Karegeya was a Rwandan former head of external intelligence, right? External intelligence meant that he was in charge of making sure that, you know, other foreign countries are not coming to infiltrate, you know, making sure that there's no threats from other foreign countries. So Patrick Karegeya served under Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, from 1994 to 2004. And during his term as, you know, head of external intelligence, he saw some things he didn't like about the way Kagame was doing his things. And he wanted to criticize Kagame, but Kagame then found him as being insubordinate. And what did Kagame do? He threw Patrick Karegeya into jail. For 3 years he was in jail, and immediately once he got out of jail in 2007, he fled the country and he came to South Africa seeking an asylum, which he was granted by the South African government. Whilst he was here in South Africa, he started his own political party, the Rwanda National Congress. I don't know if it's still there, but he started that party here in South Africa whilst he was here in exile. And he also continued to criticize Kagame for the way he was doing things and the way he was operating. Now, I'm pretty sure you can assume that Paul Kagame was not too happy about being criticized by Patrick Karegeya, and intelligence was now floating around that Paul Kagame was plotting on a way of assassinating Patrick. Now, that intelligence seemed verifiable when there was an assassination attempt on a man called Kayumba Nyamwasa, a former general of the Rwandan government. He came to South Africa also, you know, seeking an asylum. He fled from Rwanda and, you know, started doing the same thing what Patrick Karegeya was doing, you know, criticizing Paul Kagame, criticizing the way things were run, because, you know, he also served under Paul Kagame. There's no evidence to support that Paul Kagame is the one who actually had this assassination attempt done. But it did raise concerns, especially for Patrick Karegeya. He saw this and his security team saw this and were like, you know what? There's a genuine threat on Patrick Karegeya's life now. But unfortunately, only 3 years after the assassination attempt on Kayumba Nyamwasa, Patrick Karegeya was found unalived in his hotel room in Johannesburg. He was lured into a meeting. I don't know what type of meeting it was. He was lured into a meeting and he was found strangled to death in his hotel room. There's no evidence to show that Paul Kagame was the one who issued out this assassination. However, 12 days after this event, Paul Kagame comes out and he says, you cannot betray Rwanda and live a good life. People are like, huh? South African government is listening and they're like, what did you say? And then the National Defense Minister, James Kabarebe, comes out and says, if you want to live like a dog, you're going to die like a dog. 12 days after this assassination of Patrick Karegeya. And South Africa is like, something's fishy here. Now, eventually, the South African government was like, nah, all Rwandan diplomats, you guys can go, because we don't trust any of you. That's what the South African government basically were doing by, you know, expelling all the Rwandan diplomats. Listen, a Rwandan diplomat is not someone that just comes from Rwanda. Like, a diplomat is someone who is there to kind of like negotiate on behalf of, you know, the Rwandan government and, you know, just enhance relationships between the two countries. So South Africa was like, no, we don't trust any of your diplomats because they could have been involved in the assassination. So South Africa expelled all of them. And Rwandan, obviously, they got pissed off, and they also expelled all the South African diplomats from Rwanda. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how the beef started. We can't always blame the West on things. I'm going back to your comment. I'm sorry, it took me long to actually connect to your comment. We can't always blame the West. Sometimes the West just sits and does this and watches us fight each other without any of their involvement. You know, they already did their damage with colonization. Whatever we do with fighting with each other has got very little to do with what the West does to us as people. Like that, I've given you the context. Every once in a while, listen, there was a time where, I think it was 2 years ago, 1 year ago, where there was a picture of President Paul Kagame with President Cyril Ramaphosa, and people assumed that, oh, maybe things are seeming okay. But listen, if those 13 soldiers that were murdered, right, in DRC, if Rwanda played any part in that, it's going to be difficult to see if any relationship is going to be salvaged, because that is real serious, guys. Paul Kagame has been a good president for Rwanda, and a lot of Rwandan people love him. Majority of the country love him. I'm not too sure about the 99.5% that he won in the 2017 elections in Rwanda. I'm not too sure about that, but I will tell you this. If you say anything bad about Paul Kagame, you are guaranteed that Rwandan people are going to come and insult you, right? They'll essentially tell you to footsack if you say anything bad about Paul Kagame. And this is due to the fact that the Rwandan economy has been doing excellent under his leadership. I'll give you context. In 1994, Rwanda's GDP stood at around $200 million US. If you don't know what GDP means, GDP just means the value of the country. So in 1994, Rwanda's value was at $200 million US. Fast forward to around 2023, Rwanda's GDP was now at $14.1 billion US. $200 million US to $14.1 billion US. Not only has it been doing well in terms of the economical side of things, even on the political and social side. In the social side, Rwanda has a very low crime rate. Very low crime rate. Relatively low. And that's excellent. The political side, yes, many may criticize that, oh, he's a dictator, but a dictatorship or an authoritarian rule comes about political stability, and with political stability comes about peace. Hence, in Rwanda, very peaceful. Hence, you can understand why Rwandan people really love this man.
I want to make a clarion call to my brother and the president of Rwanda not to engage in what he's trying to do of a modern slavery. President Paul Kagame is one of the respected leaders in our continent. But what he's doing with the United Kingdom, saying there will be an exchange of immigrants from United Kingdom to Rwanda, and then they will give him money. That is a modern exchange of slavery. It reminds us of painful times of slavery. And President Kagame, we are making a call for you to relook into that decision. You cannot exchange immigrants who majority are Africans and blacks.
15 years ago, they were one of the first countries to ban plastic bags. And the plastic bag ban is, very severe. There's signs at the airport. The small East African nation is one of at least 40 countries that have restricted, banned, or taxed the use of plastic bags. But its approach is one of the most extreme. Owners of factories caught producing non-authorized bags face up to a year in prison. But yeah, it's one of the cleanest nations in the world. And get this, the country sets aside every last Saturday of the month for a community work day. And this is something Mark Rober brought up as well. The whole country gets together and cleans the joint up on one day, and they're happy to do it. And there's no garbage around or anything. They cut the grass and trim the bushes.